Hi there. I'm Suzanne Lynch, and I'm here today with the wise guide Anne Dellenbaugh, who is here. And our topic is 3 ways to melt winter weight. And Anne's here to talk to you about it. She's offering a course at Saratoga Springs Yoga. Um, it's called the Spring Alignment Course. And we deal with topics just like this. So Anne is just an amazing resource. She certainly has supported my health over the years and my family's health. So I'm so happy to have her here. So hi there, Anne.
Hi, Suzanne. Okay, so actually, we're going to talk about 3 simple ways to lose the winter weight, but I first want to talk about spring, okay? Is that all right? Good place to start? So, spring energy has, and the reason we want to talk about and think about spring energy is if we can align with the energy of whatever's happening in the cosmos, we can use it to fuel whatever we're trying to do in our lives. So especially in spring, and I want to use 2 images for spring that come from one, the Chinese tradition, and one, the Ayurvedic healing tradition. So in Chinese tradition, spring is the energy of wood. So that's the energy of something moving up. The sap moves up the trees, and because the sap moves up into the trees, they can produce their leaves and grow. And it's not just in the trees, it's also in any of those little shoots that's breaking up through the ground. And I love it. You just told me about a lily of the valley coming up through asphalt in a driveway.
Right.
So, and you touch the lily of the valley leaf, it's not going to, you can bend it easily. It's like, how does this get through the hard top? It gets through because of this energy of spring. That's what it is. It's that wood energy that just finds a way through any obstacle. So what I like about this image of wood for the spring is that it means that those things that where we felt stuck, like something's holding us down, there's energy in the universe right now, in the planet, to find a way through, to find a way to change those old stuck habits and patterns. And winter is sometimes a time when we get kind of stuck and tight and we feel cold and we get constricted. And now there's this expansion starting to happen, and that lets us change old patterns. So that's one of the things I want to say about spring, wood. The other thing that we want to think about spring is with this image of earth and water that comes from Ayurveda. They form together the kapha dosha, as we call it. And it's all about nutrients and nourishment, because the spring is when all those babies are born. The birds' nests are full of baby birds. The field that I look out this window at is soon going to be full of baby rabbits. There's, all kinds of the babies being born. And they all need nourishment. They need milk. They need water and earth coming together. That makes things stronger. So most of us come out of winter, if we're adults, we don't need to build up our bodies more, right? But we do want to nourish ourselves well. We want to find out how can we move through those obstacles, and then how can we also use this energy of this earth and water. One of the ways we can think about the earth and water is, I said it's milk, it's like mud. At the end of winter, we get mud season, right? And it's also mucus. So sometimes what happens is we get allergies, spring allergies. It's more concentration than we need. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too.
In the course, right. In the spring course, right.
In the spring course, right. So now, one other thing that I want to say, and then I promise we're going to get to those 3 ways, is about what I'm thinking of about why we call it the Spring Alignment Course, is this idea that alignment is a little bit like an entrainment. And we remember entrainment means that you start to be in rhythm with a greater force, like when a band plays, for instance. You entrain to music, or when women are all together and they all have their menstrual cycles at the same time. There's a kind of entrainment that happens there, where one person, like clocks, that's another thing, pendulum clocks, they will entrain to each other. And you can bring a clock into a room where pendulum clocks are going, and over a period of time, it will start to go with the other clocks, right? So we want to entrain to the bigger energy that's moving through the cosmos right now. It's spring energy. Now, here's the thing about entrainment, is that entrainment invites us to bring more energy into the body, to move into a harmony with this bigger energy so that we can take more energy into the body. And that's the energy that lets us change patterns.
Okay.
And what happens with so many of us is that as we get overwhelmed or stressed or sick, we shut down. And when we shut down, what the body is doing is it's going into a mode where we need less energy. We minimize things. We all do this. We know we do it. When we're sick, we clear as much as we can off the calendar. When we're stressed, we say, no, I just can't even think about that right now. So these are times to change patterns. There's not enough energy in the system to make the kind of changes we want to make. So we need to look at how can we manage stress so that we have enough energy to make the changes. And this is why one of the things that we've said is that it's not about making big changes, because that increases the stress. It's about finding out how to make a small change that puts us in greater alignment with this big energy, and then we get to ride the river, and we don't have to work so hard to make the changes.
Oh my God, I love that.
Okay, so now let's get to the fact that we come out of winter. You've just been through, especially those of you in the north and the east, you've been through such a long winter. And during the winter, you've got to eat those heavier foods. Meats, grains, root vegetables, yams, carrots, beets, all that kind of, lots of oils, lots of avocados maybe. And so it's natural that you put on a little bit of weight, you start to feel a little bit heavier. So now we're moving into this lighter season. What should we do? The first thing, and this is probably the simplest and safest way to detox. Because what happens in the winter is things don't move out of us as fast. So we want to help ourselves to kind of loosen things up.
It feels like, it's like spring cleaning in a certain way for your body, your house, everything.
Right, yes. There's a good reason we talk about spring cleaning. So the first thing to do is add warm water to the system. And what I like to recommend that people do is just sip hot or warm water all day long. Have a thermos, fill it with hot water early in the day, and just keep drinking it all day long. Or if your digestion is a little sluggish, or like you're coming out of a cold, you have you're getting some of those spring allergies, or maybe you're just getting a little bit of a cold, or like I say, your digestion feels sluggish, or you don't have much of an appetite, put some ginger in that water. Boil the water with some coin slices of ginger and sip ginger tea all day long. And do it for 10 days. And as I often say to people, who say, that's a lot of water and I don't really want to sip water all day long, here's the test for hydration or dehydration. Do that for 1 day. For 1 day, drink water all day long, and then see at the end of the day whether you're thirsty or not. So you did that recently, didn't you?
I did, and I was so surprised because I've had this bad cold, so I started drinking the ginger tea, and I was so thirsty at the end of the day, and now I'm continuing. I've been doing it for 3 days, and I'm amazed Really, Anne, at Just How Thirsty. Then I had my husband do this as well, and he's finding the exact same thing. So we didn't know. Can you talk a little bit about why that is?
So there's two things that with respect to thirst. One is that as we age, our thirst mechanism, it kind of lowers, we could say, not as sensitive to thirst as we were when we were children.
Ah.
So it's going to take more for us to actually feel thirsty. This is why we get increasingly dehydrated. That's one aspect. The other thing that's interesting here is that in the brain, the thirst center and the food centers, the hunger centers, are right next to each other. What that means is we often mistake thirst for hunger. And actually, so this is one of the things that actually feeds right into why this is helpful for losing winter weight. Because if you're in the habit of mistaking thirst for hunger, then you're overeating a little bit. So let's hydrate the body. Let's keep the water coming in so that the thirst mechanism doesn't get triggered quite so fast and we don't misinterpret it as hunger. So we're going to help calm down the hunger by taking care of our thirst. And it works also on the level that if your belly is full of nice warm water, you may not get as hungry as quickly. Sometimes what we say to people is, if you think you're hungry, drink a nice glass of room temperature or warm water. And if you're still hungry 20 minutes later, then eat. Right? So now the thirst, and what you also found is it's almost as if sipping water for one day wakes up the tissues and they start to feel what it's like to be hydrated. And they say, oh, we like this. Give us more. Yeah. Right. So this is so important. And I guess you're going to continue on. I recommend doing it for like 10 days.
Yeah.
And then you can test, because at the end of 10 days, if you stop sipping your water all day long and you find you're thirsty, then you need to continue it for a few more days.
Oh, excellent.
So that's number one. Number one, hydrate and detoxify. Now, what I want to say, the last thing I want to say about that warm water is what we're also doing is we're actually melting adipose tissue. Anything that's turned to fat, we're just going to warm it up so it can just melt off, which is why at the same time that you're drinking this warm water all day long, don't eat a lot of cold foods. Don't drink cold water. Keep the body warm, right? Yeah. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is all these beautiful greens are starting to grow up around. The world is starting to turn green, and we want to turn to green ourselves. So I always say in the spring, eat more green, because that means you're going to have more vegetables. So on your plate, when you look at your plate for your meal, I say half the plate should be green. That means it's going to be all those wonderful leafy greens, or it's going to be broccoli or Brussels sprouts or spinach or all those wonderful things.
Right.
And what that means is half the plate is vegetables, which are easy to digest and very cleansing to the body, and they alkalinize the body, which means we're going to tend to get less sick, because this illness needs an acidic environment. So we improve our health by eating all these green things, but it also means that the other things, grains, we're going to eat a little less of. If you're an omnivore and have meat, you're going to have a little less meat now, because meat is a comfort food. Right. Meat builds bodies. So in the spring, we don't need to build the body. Eat less of those denser foods. The other thing about greens that I want to say is, especially as the dandelions are coming up, go pick the little tiny dandelion leaves and just chew a few of them. This gives the bitter taste. Yeah. And bitter is very good for detoxification, but it's also very good for shifting our appetite away from those sweet, dense foods. It's if you eat bitters, you're going to be less likely to want to go for those sweet foods, which are the bulking up foods.
And some greens are a little more bitter, like arugula or radicchio or endive even, although that's more of a winter green. And some people really like them and some really don't.
Some really don't. It's true. And we're talking about greens. So if some people have a little trouble digesting greens, they bring on gas, because greens are very airy. They grow up, not down, and they have a lot of the vata quality in it, as we call it. So then those people need to put a lot of oil on their greens, and that's fine. A little bit of ghee, a little butter even, or some oil.
Olive oil, right.
Yeah, it's fine. And so that way you can feel that they're nourished by it. You can saute them with a little garlic. Yum. Right. And then, yes, they are a little bit bitter, and it's a good taste for the spring. It's the reason all those little fresh greens do taste bitter, because bitter is a cleansing taste. And actually, it helps us it cleanses the palate, and it helps us to shift patterns. It really does. It loosens things up.
Oh, great. So we've got hydrate, drink water, and then we've got greens, eat more vegetables, and then the third recommendation.
The third, we have to move the body.
Oh, okay.
Now, it's exercise, but I'm really careful about this one. And by which I mean, I'm not going to say to anyone who doesn't already like going to the gym, it's time to get a gym membership. No, that's not what I mean at all. I love Ayurveda for many, many reasons, but one of my favorite things about Ayurveda is they say all you need to do is exercise to the point where you're breaking a sweat. You don't have to be dripping. You don't have to go for a run so that you come home with your t-shirt drenched. You only have to have a little bit of breaking of sweat on the scalp or the head, the temples, and a little moisture in the armpits. That's it. And so that actually, someone who likes yoga, you can do 10 minutes of sun salutations.
Right.
And that's it. Or you get on a rebounder, those little mini trampolines. They're wonderful. And jump on that for 10 minutes.
Right.
What, you can even listen to your favorite radio program or watch a movie or whatever and jump on your trampoline for a little bit. Or even a brisk walk a couple of times around the block, up and down. It doesn't have to be long. You just want to warm up. Again, it's the same thing. We're just warming up the body so that the body can naturally begin to draw out the toxins. And as we do that, we'll start to lose weight.
Wow, that's fantastic, Anne.
So that's it, those three.
Yeah, I really appreciate how you framed it, and that it's simple. We don't have to devote all these hours to working out or anything, but it can be very simple and just moving some way you enjoy. The way you will actually be willing to move. What you love to do. So those are all very common sense, wonderful ways. And if people would like to join you and us for the Spring Alignment course, it's going to be running from May 14th to June 4th, and it's designed so that you can have a couple of private sessions with Anne, one at the beginning, one at the end, and really target exactly what will really help you in your particular case and life align more with the spring energy. And Anne is really a genius at really deciding and listening to you and giving you some options of, I think this would be the best and most easy, and what I love is it's efficient. You're helping people with small changes, and often I feel that with myself, I try to tackle something really big. I think I have to do it the hard way, and then I fail. So So what I've always really appreciated about your course is that you help me make small changes that are sustainable in my life. And then the next spring comes along and I can up level it a little bit more. Because again, it's like this process, we're always changing. And we may need a little more of something, new in our life. And so what you've been able to do is help me understand that so much better. And so we're offering this course ongoingly. This is, I think, in our second year of the spring, right? Maybe second or third. Maybe third. But it's really great. So if people want to join, if they've already taken it, it's totally great to take it again. And we're offering a discount to those people, like a significant discount if you want to come back if you've been a student of Anne's before. So we see, I see the studio, Saratoga Springs Yoga, as more of a, we're like partners in you with your health. And we're assisting in kind of a deeper level than we used to with yoga classes. And your program is one way we can help people. So I'm like psyched.
That's great. I want to say one more thing about what you were just saying in terms of how change happens. And, when we are learning to drive, for instance, we tend to oversteer the car. And when people are learning to sail a boat or paddle a canoe, same thing. We tend to correct in really a sort of overdoing it. And we do the same thing actually in our lives. We think, wow, I really need to make big changes, and we try to make huge changes, and they're ultimately unsustainable. And I'm interested in the changes that we can make that support our life just as it is. So one of our commitments here in this course is that this isn't about going away to a spa. This isn't a spa course. It's not like you have to stop working for 3 weeks. You don't change really anything about your life except maybe one little thing. And then we're going to see how it's like when you're sailing a boat or paddling a canoe. You put in one steering stroke and then you watch to see how does that change how my boat is moving, how my life is moving. So this is what I do think that it's one of my gifts, in a way I guess we could say, that is helping people to see what's the one thing I can do differently in my daily life. And what I think is happening is that it's like one change opens up this energy of spring so that we get in other energy. We don't have to do this alone. There's energy in the cosmos that wants us to move into new patterns where we can become more creative in our life or bring in more of what it is that we want to be doing in our life, whatever it is. But that's a step-by-step process. And it's not a big change over here that then you come home and it all falls apart again. Because I've done that a million times in my life. I'm not interested in that kind of thing anymore.
I know. Forget it.
Yeah.
But I love that is really your superpower, actually. That you are such a great person to assist with this. And again, like you said, it's not something you have to take 3 weeks off for. So there are private sessions with you. There are conference calls. There's email support. There's a Facebook page. It's just a great support and a great time of year to make these sustainable changes, basically. Yeah. So we're always evolving. And it's great to talk to you today. So thank you so much, Anne.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Sue.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.